When participating in any exercise program, there is a possibility of physical injury and an increased load on the heart, which may result in dizziness, shortness of breath, and in extreme circumstances may result in a heart attack. If you experience any dizziness or pain, stop exercising immediately and seek medical attention as required. By participating in this exercise program, you agree to freely accept all associated risks, dangers, and hazards. The governors of the University of Alberta, their officers, employees, and volunteers are not responsible for any injury or loss of any kind sustained by you while participating. Consult your physician before beginning any exercise program.
Okay, so as usual, if you have household items, props, straps, blankets, cushions, those things are just nice to have close by in case you feel like you need them at some point. Sometimes I don't often. Sometimes I'll use them specifically, but they're just nice to have. We'll get rolling in about 2 minutes for our natural flow practice in our guest studio of the day, of the week. So no music today. You might hear loud purring, but that's a nice calming sound, so it should work out. As always, any questions or issues during the class, please fire a message into the chat box. Brianne is here with us in the background, just ensuring that everything is working as it should be. Yeah, there we go. I'll do my best to just keep my eye on the screen for any messages that might be important for during the class, and we'll see how much Thomas wants to join the show. Yeah. So we have a fun one today. If you've just logged on, welcome. I'm Chelsea. If you haven't been to the natural flow class yet, so it's a mix between like a hatha flow style infused with some move nat technique and practice. So if it's not your standard yoga class, that's because it's not. It's the move nat yoga flow Chelsea fusion. So today we are in my home studio, working from home as the way the world is these days. So a strap is helpful if you have it, a cushion or a block or a blanket if you want to have those nearby. If you have like a hard floor and your mat is not that thick and you have sensitive knees, things of that nature. Just reminders, your class, your practice. So if any of the movements don't work for you, you can always adjust, modify, pass on any movements. You don't have to do anything I say or do. That's the rule of my class. I will give options. And the most important part is that you're present in your body and that you are breathing throughout the practice. So when you're holding your breath, we'll give reminders to breathe. That's when you need to sort of reset, reevaluate our movement or position. So you're invited to come down onto your backs to start, and if you want to be seated, that's fine too. And Thomas is going to take over the mat, so that's fine. So let's come down onto our backs, and we'll just start with some breathing as we do. If it's helpful for you for that, just that kinesthetic feedback, to have your hand on your abdomen and maybe one hand on the chest. We want to focus the breath into the abdomen, so taking those diaphragmatic breaths. So just take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale every bit of that breath out through your mouth. And just a few more deep breaths like that. If you like that, pause or hold for a count of 1 or 2 at the top of your inhale. You're welcome to do that as well. So just do that about 4 more times on your own rhythm. So inhaling through your nose And push every last bit of air out through your breath. So using that abdominal contraction to squeeze out that bit of air from the bottom of the lungs, and just a few more like that. Deep breath in. And let it all go. And on your fifth breath, just taking a fuller, deeper breath in, expanding through the rib cage and the diaphragm. And push every last bit of air out through your mouth. Just give yourself a moment to settle into your space. If you're in the middle of your work or school day, just allow any work activities to be where they are on your desk, on your computer, and just find yourself landing in your physical body, connecting to your physical presence. And we'll just take 5 more deep, more controlled diaphragmatic breaths. So again, focusing that breath into the hand that's on top of the belly if you're holding that position. So just expanding that space below your rib cage. And think also as you inhale that you're not only expanding the belly up, but expanding the side waist out to the side. It could also be helpful to inhale to a count of 4, 5, or 6, depending on what feels most comfortable for you. So just using that feedback of your hands to guide that breath into the belly. Imagining with each breath that you're finding expansion and space, inhaling calmness, relaxation. And as you exhale, just letting go of any worry, stress, tension that may have followed you into your practice space. So just reserving this 50 minutes for you, your own time, to be present in your body, disconnect from all of the busyness or concern or worry or troubles. So after you've finished your 5th breath, you can just bring your breath back to a natural rhythm. And if it's appropriate for you, no tension or discomfort, pain in the low back, you can extend the legs and reach the arms up and overhead and bring some tension into the body. So we want strong physical strength and tension into our body. We talk about relaxing. And usually when we're stressed or overwhelmed, our body, our energy just slumps and kind of collapses. So we want to bring that strength and tension. So engaging all those muscles and then release. So do that a few more times. So squeeze your glutes, squeeze your legs, splay your feet in your hands, squish your face, and then let it all go. One more time, squeeze even tighter the glutes, the abdomen, stretch the arms, splay the hands. Imagine every cell and muscle fiber tensing, and let it all go. Good, we're going to start with some spinal rocking, and if it's not for you, I'll show you the option that you can take. But from here, we're going to round through the spine. You have to find a decent amount of core tension to make this effective and efficient. So when I round back, I engage my trunk and I rock up to this bent sit position. So if you know that this spinal rocking does not support your body for whatever reason, spine, shoulder, neck concerns, just roll over to one side, and I just want you to find this bent sit position. When we rock, you're gonna flex through your spine. So you're just gonna find this rounded position, tucking the tailbone under, chin to chest, and then we'll come up. So we're gonna do a rock and a reach. What that's gonna look like is I'm gonna rock back, body weight transfer, and I'm gonna reach up. Let's start with one arm at a time. So when I come up to this tall, this long flat back, tall posture, reaching up with one hand, rocking back, reaching up with that alternating hand. So making this a gentle but dynamic movement, reaching with purpose. Now let's rock and reach with both hands. So again, if you're not choosing the rocking option, you're just gonna round through your spine and you're gonna reach up. And feel free to reach in different directions. So reaching one side, reaching to the other side. We're gonna turn this into a forward reach. That's weird angle, the camera. So I come up into this bend sit. I'm gonna reach between my knees, again with intention, reaching forward and getting that opening into the hips. So just making a position. So rocking back, reaching up, breathing, exhale as you come up, inhale as you come back, making sure that you're rounding and that you're not kind of slapping your back down with a flat back, but tucking under. So one more rock there. Then we're gonna come into our side bent sit reverses. So we've done this a lot. Always feel free to use your arms as posts. So I'm gonna start with my arms externally rotated, and I'm just gonna reverse my legs with my hands down. And really think about that internal rotation of that leg. So this knee pointing down and really turning that hip. It's a movement that we don't often fully activate. So just a few of those reverses. And then we're gonna add a reach to this. So I'm gonna reverse to one side and add that spinal rotation. It's a little bit of a spinal twist, reaching around. Imagining that I'm reaching for something behind me, using my arms as posts here. Again, this is just the warm-up portion of the class. Again, if you don't like this full side bend sit reverse, you can certainly do the TikTok version where I just post behind me and I just drop the knees gently from side to side. Not quite as deep of a hip movement. So, and you can also, even from there, add that extra little rotation and turn. Okay. So next thing here, we're gonna come into that knee hand position. And just some flexion and extension of the spine. So your cat-cow, walk those knees back underneath the hips, hands right underneath the shoulders. Inhaling, arching the spine, and exhaling, rounding. And again, it doesn't have to be your standard cat-cow. I really encourage you to feel into your body, maybe waving your tail from side to side, making some hip circles, extending through the side waist, so maybe getting a little lateral flexion through your spine. So it doesn't have to be just your standard arch and rounding. If spinal extension, so that cow pose, that arch, if that doesn't feel good in your body, totally just take it out. You can rock your hips back towards your heels. I just want to see you take a few more breaths just to explore those just different spinal articulations. Okay, so we're gonna move into that contralateral, so that's opposite hand, opposite knee, and we're gonna add some complexity and intensity to the movements to prepare us for some crawling skills. But if you don't wanna advance into that, that's totally fine. So we're gonna start, so what we've done before is from knee hands position, reaching with opposite leg and opposite hand. What I'm going to invite you to do here is to tuck your toes under and elevate the knees. So we have done a little bit of this, and we're just going to do this 2-point of support from the feet and the hands. So I'm going to lift one hand and the opposite knee, and back down and switch sides. So this one, the tendency here can be to hold the breath. So ensure that you're breathing. Try not to rock the torso from side to side, staying as stable as we can, hovering those knees above the floor. We want to keep those hips low, so I don't want to bring my hips too high. I want to keep a good bend, 90-degree bend into my knees. Good. Let's go one more on each side. Good. And then lower your knees down. We're going to start in, next we'll move into some kneeling step outs. So I'm going to come into a kneeling position. As always, if this deflection of the knees is not good for you, then you can come into tall kneeling, and always feel free to bring a blanket underneath your knees. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to step out and I'm going to reach. And I'm inviting you here to step out at different angles, bringing that knee over the toe, trying to keep your heel grounded, sitting back down onto the heels, coming back up, and then reaching. So just to step out and reach, coming back down, hips to heels. And again, holding that tall kneeling position, it's that deflection. So here we're opening up the knees, we're opening up those ankles. Breathing, relaxing, undoing muscles that we don't need to hold. Again, reaching for purpose. So this is meant to be more practical movement. So if we're reaching here, I'm pretending that I'm reaching for something. Let's go 2 more on each side and playing with those different angles. Good. Okay, let's just come to a seated position. Doesn't have to be kneeling, but it can be. And just moving into some gentle neck half circles. I prefer half circles personally. Just rotating my ear from side to side. Ensuring that our shoulders are stacked back over the hips. Dropping the chin to the chest and just rolling my ear from side to side. Just getting some length at the side of the neck and releasing undoing tension that we tend to hold into the upper back, into the shoulders, and into the neck. Breathing. And again, people, a common area of tension and tightness will be shoulders, so we'll just move into some shoulder rolls here. So just nice big shoulder rolls forward. Just loosening things up, noticing where we're holding or carrying tension, moving one shoulder forward, alternating, maybe making some bigger arm circles. And then once you've gone in one direction, let's roll the shoulders the other way, so moving back now. Bigger arm circles, and maybe alternating one arm at a time. Hope you're feeling a little bit warm from that. So we're going to come into just some kneeling side bends from here. So from this kneeling position, I'm going to come up to tall kneeling, reach to the side, reaching up and over, sitting back down, and then just alternating sides. So again, moving with your breath, using that additional support from a blanket if we need it. Just getting that nice lateral flexion of the trunk, nice deep side bend. If your hand doesn't touch the floor, just come up to the knees, reaching down the leg towards the floor. I think I have short arms in relation to other sections of my body, but that's okay. My hand doesn't quite reach down to the floor. Good. Let's just go two more, or one more rather, each side. Just coming up to tall kneeling. Nice deep side bend. Okay, so we'll move into a little sequence here. We've got a few sequences that we'll move through a few times. So we've done some of these movements before, so opportunity to expand and explore on some of these positions and movements, and opportunities to progress. So let's start in our side bent sit position. I'm gonna face you, so instead of reversing the knees as we've done, like so, I'm gonna reverse, but I'm gonna do so and maintain my position. So I'm still head on facing you, and you can do this too looking at your screen, so that you switch your side bend sit position. And then we're gonna post up into this tall split kneeling position. And always feel free to use your hands. So we're gonna move through that flow. So sitting down with control, taking that leg that's behind us, taking that other leg. Sorry, I'm just making sure I'm not missing a chat message. Coming to the other side, and then posting up into that tall split kneeling position. Nice hip extension, opening through the hips here. So sitting down back with control, taking that back leg forward, taking that front leg back behind you, and posting up like so. So we'll just move through a few more repetitions on each side, posting up, sitting back down. Always feel free to use your hands here. So I can use my hands to assist and support myself to get up. Always with a nice long spine and nice engaged core, so that we can control our movements. Last one here. Finish on the side that you didn't start on. Then we're going to move into a bit of crawling. So the contralateral movement pattern is not super easy. And again, always feel free to deload by taking the hips back, taking a wrist break, coming down onto the knees rather from the feet. I'm going to start on my knees just to introduce you to the pattern. So you might have gone to a fitness class and say, okay, do a bear crawl. And then they show you and they say, go do it. But they didn't actually teach you how to do it. So what you want to do to set up your position is find this short side, so that my wrist, I bring my knee close to my wrist. So I start in the knee hand, bring my knee towards my wrist back towards my knee. I'm going to bring my other knee back the same distance and my other hand back the same distance. So I got my long side, that's the side that's away from you, and the short side of my wrist to my knee that you can see. So you want to start up here. I'm going to lift one hand, one knee, and then place them down. So again, if crawling in this movement pattern is new to you, just start on your knees, and I'm going to extend and reach back. So you'll see here, now my long side is facing you and my short side is on the other side of you. Okay? So this is a good place to come back to if you're ever doing crawling and you lose your movement pattern and you start going ipsilateral, so both sides, that's hand, the same side of your leg in your hand. We want that contralateral, so opposite hand and opposite knee. So if we're ready for it, we're just going to elevate the knees to a hover and take 4 steps forward, little steps too. Another common inefficiency for this one is that we take too big of steps. Also ensure that your hips are low. So we don't want the hips high up into the air. We want knees down like you're hovering through tall grass. So just go 4 more steps forward and 4 more steps back. And make them soft. Try not to smash or slap your hands onto the floor. Because if you're in nature, you wouldn't know what your surface is like that you're crawling into. Okay, lower that down. So hopefully that creates a little bit of warmth for your body. From here, we're gonna come into a balancing sit position. So a little bit of more core engagement. Of course, crawling is core. Hopefully you felt that. So I'm gonna balance back, kind of into this V-sit position. And I'm just gonna transfer my weight from side to side. So you can certainly drop your heels down and lean back till you feel that engagement into the trunk, and just transfer your weight from side to side or cheek to cheek. But if it's available to you, let's try and hover those heels and just transfer from cheek to cheek, side to side, sort of in this modified V-sit position. Keeping nice tall posture as always, chest open. Shifting the weight. Good. So we're gonna do one more round of that sequence. So side bent sit to that tall split kneel. I'm gonna add one extra movement to this. So every round or every movement we do, feel free to explore, go deeper, add different variations to it as you see fit and as you want to explore. So from the side bent sit, I'm going to just hinge forward over that front shin, maybe gain a little bit more depth into that hip, and then I'm going to post up into that tall split kneeling position. And then I'm facing you, taking that back leg around, front leg comes back behind me, hinging forward over that front shin, and then elevating the hips up with control. So similar, just adding that hip hinge forward, using the hands if we need to post up, and going back. Hopefully you have a thick mat or something to cushion your knees. These movements are always best done, I think, on the grass, but you know, it's a little chilly out these days. Adding that hip hinge, and posting up. So just finish one more on each side like that. We'll get into some standing movements, but we're going to start the first half of our class on the ground here. Posting up. Good. So then we went into crawling. Before we get into crawling, if you're like, my wrists bother me and I hate this, I feel you. So again, your options are to come into this knee hand position. I like to externally rotate the hands and just rock the weight side to side, forward and back. So you're just inviting that weight into your hands, into the wrists that you may not have done, which is totally fine. And take the fingers back to point towards my knees. Splay the thumbs away from one another. Bring a little bend into the elbows. Feeling that nice stretch into the wrist and the forearms. So again, I'm just giving you these options when you want to take a break from that weight bearing into the hands and from the crawling. If it's not appropriate for you, palms face up, extending the arms. And maybe your arms don't extend, maybe you're here and that's totally fine. To get a little bit more intensity, I'm going to gently bring my hips down towards my heels, keeping my elbows extended as best as we can. Just getting that nice stretch into the forearms, into the wrists. Super important thing to do because so many of us are spending so much more time on computers these days in our virtual world. So, okay, those are your, and always feel free to take a few wrist rolls one way and the other. Okay, so again, crawling either from the knees or from the feet, setting up that short side. So I bring my knee to my wrist on one side and I take the other hand in front, that same distance, and the other knee back. So this is your starting position. I'm going to hover the knees up and And you're just going forward and back. And go slow. We say that speed can hide inefficiencies sometimes, so we don't want to strengthen inefficiencies. We want to keep that core nice and straight, that balanced, square shoulders and hips, so that we're not lumbering from side to side. You're nice and stable, nice and steady. Rigid, but also finding relaxation. I laugh. It's a hard thing to do. So let's just go 4 more steps forward and 4 more steps back. Again, nice and soft with our hand and foot placement. Ensure that you're still breathing. And then find your way back to the center of your mat. And then we'll go back into that balancing sit. So again, option here is to keep the knees down, and you're just kind of shifting your weight from side to side. You'll still activate the side waist and the obliques. Let's try hovering those heels up, shifting the weight, cheek to cheek, finding that V-sit, so nice long torso, maybe lifting the shins parallel to the floor. See if we can extend those legs. It's kind of rude pointing my feet at the screen. So shins parallel, straighten and bend the knees. Let's pulse that for 2 more. Lift the chest, hug the knees in, hover the feet up off the mat. And because it feels good, let's do a couple of spinal rocks. Again, if it's appropriate for you. So rounding through your spine, rocking yourself back up. Just 3. And then we'll transition to our next sequence. Okay, so rocking yourself up into this just a cross-sit position. So we've done this before. We'll rock into that low crouch. We're going to use our rocking for our next movement together. So this low crouch, I kind of come into this figure 4. My heel can lift, and then I'm going to rock back, and then rock up, crouch onto the other side. I'll show you that from a different view. So crouch, rock up. So 3 per side. So my hips come up off the floor, and I body weight shift to come into that low crouch. Okay. Moving into our tripod transitions. So again, less intensity would be to add a rocking component to this getup, which we didn't do last week. It would be more challenging if I were to just be here in this 1 knee bent, 1 leg straight, and then come up into my tripod getup. So I can make this more efficient by adding a rock, rocking up into 1 straight leg, 1 bent knee. So I'll do this quick to demonstrate rocking up and standing. So if you can kind of pick your variation, alternating sides, and just doing 3 per side. You don't have to do the 1 arm. So if you need to slow this down, that's totally fine. So you're gonna come down, the leg, the same leg as my posted arm, will extend. I'm gonna rock back, come here. I can use both hands to walk myself into a standing position from that hip hinge. hip hinging forward, walking back down, and I'll just show you one more. So rocking back, rocking up into that extended leg, same arm as posted, pulling that leg in, walking up if I need to with my hands to a stand. So I just want you to try 3 tripod transitions on each side, whichever variation you'd like to do that. Okay, and after your last get up, so let's do a rock. If we're rocking, tripods transition to stand up, and we're gonna do some standing balance. So finding your balance on one leg. You can start with your right or your left, doesn't matter. What we're gonna do is we're gonna hip hinge forward, coming into a T balance, coming back up, and then taking that leg out to the side. So hinging forward, one-legged hip hinge, and then lateral lift of that same leg. So hinging forward. And then again, just hinging to your depth, moving with control, using your breath. This lateral work of the leg is often missed in a lot of our daily life, daily practices. So really engaging and strengthening that lateral hip, lateral glute, super beneficial to balance out any muscle weaknesses, imbalances that we might have. Let's switch sides. So again, we're just gonna find that one-legged hip hinge, balancing on one leg, coming into a T balance, coming up, and then taking that leg out to the side. We're aiming for about 5 of each lift or hinge and lift. I'm just hinging forward again. I'm long through my trunk, long through my spine. Breathing, relaxing, undoing muscles that we don't need to engage. Good. So we're gonna do one more round of those 3 movements that we just did. So we're gonna come down back onto the floor. We can do that with our tripod. Get up and get back down. So I'm gonna rock 3 times, coming into the low crouch. So 3 times per side. Coming up into this. So, and again, if that low crouch bothers your knee, just come up here to this figure 4 sit. And if rocking isn't for you, then you can just work on these transitions, figure 4, and that side bend sit with the hip hinge, okay? So again, just working more into the hips, however is most appropriate for you. Again, adding intensity or passing on certain variations if that doesn't support your body. We're gonna move into that rock to a tripod get up. So that rocking component makes this a little more efficient. I'm gonna rock and then get up. Making it a little bit more dynamic. Long leg. I'm using one arm, but you don't have to. So you can use 2 when you come into that tripod transition to the foot hand, and then always walk your hands back up towards your feet. Hinge from your hips. Walking back down, kicking that leg through. Okay. So at least 3 of those tripod get ups per side, and then tripod get up to your stand, and we'll come into that balance. So you might want to start with your opposite leg. I usually pick my dominant or stronger side to start, but sometimes it's better to start with your weaker side. From here, let's see if we can turn this into a ground touch. So I might need to bend my knee a little bit more to get my fingers to the floor. I don't want to round through my spine so much when I touch the ground. So if my hamstrings are tight, to get my fingertips to the floor, I'm just gonna bend the knee. Turns it a little bit more into a one-legged squat. And that's still good, just different. So if we can get our fingertips to the floor on that hip hinge, give that a try. And we're aiming for 5 repetitions here per side. Switching legs when you've done at least 5. If you're counting again, bringing a little bit more of a bend into that standing leg to get our fingertips to touch the floor with a nice long flat spine. Inhaling down. And again, if you have super flexible hamstrings, you may not need to bend your knee that much or at all to get your fingertips to the floor, but a lot of us are fairly tight in the hamstrings. Okay. Give that a little shake. Shake it off with a little wiggle. Shake through the hands, shake through the legs. We'll do one standing sequence that's probably a little bit more on the yoga style of things. If you're thinking this flow class Chelsea does is so weird. Well, it's supposed to be weird and different. It's inviting maybe some new skills, some new movements into our movement repertoire. So let's come to the top of the mat. I'll face you. We're gonna inhale to come into a balance. So inhale, sweeping the arms high, lifting up high onto the balls of the feet. As I exhale, I'm gonna sink down into a little chair. Good. From here, can we elevate the heels up off of the floor? And exhale, lower the heels down. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, fold forward. Extend the legs, flatten the back. And then exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, step back to a high plank. Strong through your trunk. Your glutes are squeezed. You're rounding that space. In between your shoulder blades, drop to the knees. Lower down elbows, hug the ribcage nice and tight. Inhale, baby cobra. Exhale, tuck the toes. Engage your glutes. Connect the knees into the floor and push up from the knees. Exhale, lift the hips high into a downward facing dog. Inhale, send your right heel back towards the wall behind you. Exhale, take your right foot forward and through in between the hands and rise up to a crescent lunge. So both toes pointing forward, deep bend into my front knee, arms extended, take a deep breath in. And then we're gonna bounce, find some lightness, and step forward into a balance. So that knee can be bent, or we can extend that floating leg. Bend the knee now, and we're gonna take that leg a big step back, coming back into that crescent lunge. Deep lunge through that front knee, take a deep breath in, exhale. Take the outer edge of your back foot and ground it down into your mat. Forearm to thigh, sweep that arm high, extended side angle. Breathe, so nice and firm through that back leg. Active, engaged through that arm. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, plant the palms to frame your front foot. Step back to a high plank. Inhale. Exhale, lower down, either from the knees or full plank. Inhale, baby cobra, back bend. Exhale, tuck the toes, engage the glutes, engage your core, and then push up. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg back. Exhale, left leg forward and through in between the hands. Inhale, rise up to your crescent lunge, both toes forward. Deep lunge to your front knee. Take a deep breath in. And switch sides. Bring some lightness because you know you're gonna launch into your balance here. Step up. Floating leg, knee can be bent, or we extend that leg, breathing, inhale. Exhale, take that leg a big step back, come back to where you came from, high crescent lunge. Exhale, forearm to thigh, extended side angle. Okay, see you again. So that back foot, the outer edge of your back foot is anchored firmly down into the floor. Nice and active through that extended arm. Inhale, exhale. Plant the hands, step back to your high plank, lower down. Inhale, upward or baby cobra. If you want to come a little bit deeper, we can begin to extend the arms, but we want the shoulders down and away from the ears before we lift up into our upward facing dog. Thighs are lifted. Exhale, you can move through the knees, engage through the core, tuck the toes, downward facing dog. Bending the knees, looking forward towards your hands, stepping or walking forward to the top of your mat. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen your spine, sweep the arms high. And exhale, hands to heart. We're gonna go through that sequence one more time. So I'll start at the top of my mat. The first movement was our balance. So inhale, coming up high onto the balls of the feet, heels are lifted. Finding a still point in the room to cast your gaze on to support the balance. Exhale, lower down into your chair, Utkatasana. Tucking under through your tail, engaging through the trunk. Inhale. Exhale, if we can, lift the heels up off of the floor. Exhale, lower the heels down. Take a big step back with your left leg, coming into your high crescent lunge. Keeping up the flow for this part of the chaturanga. Shoulders stacked over hips, both toes pointing forward. See if you can bend that front knee even more and lift the hamstring of your back leg higher up towards the ceiling. Inhale. Exhale, start to bounce, find lightness as you launch forward into your balance. Either knee bend or extending that leg. Inhale, exhale, send that leg back, a big step, back into your high crescent lunge. Inhale, reach up, and exhale, forearm to thigh, angle your back foot out, sweep that left arm high, reaching up and over. Shoulders square to the wall that you're facing. Inhale. Exhale, step back to high plank. Lower down either from the knees or full plank. Inhale. Chaturanga. Either to baby cobra or upward facing dog. Tops of the feet in contact with your mat. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, right heel back. Exhale, right foot forward and through in between the hands. Rise up. Sorry, left foot forward and back. Sorry. Might have messed you up on that one. Opposite leg forward than you had the last time to find your high crescent lunge. Lower down a little bit more through your front knee. Lift the hamstring of your back leg higher. So straightening, extending that back leg. Begin to find lightness as you bounce up and down, preparing for your balance, stepping up. Knee is bent or extending that leg. Breathe, inhale. Exhale, bend the knee, send it back behind you, back into your high crescent lunge. Deep breath in. Exhale, forearm to thigh, extended side angle. Good, deep breath in. Exhale, hands to mat, step back, high plank, lower from the knees. Whichever way you're lowering, your glutes are on. Elbows hug the rib cage, chest first. Inhale, peel the heart open. Tops of the feet in contact with the floor, either baby cobra or upward facing dog. And exhale, downward facing dog. Take 3 breaths here in your down dog. Walk your hands towards your feet. Find yourself into a forward fold. Bend your knees as much as you need to. Interlace hands into elbow creases if you need to. Nod the head yes, shake the head no. Gently extending your knees a little bit more. Just finding that intensity at the backs of the legs, not pain, but just sensation. Take the hands back down to the mat. Bending the knees as much as needed. Let's walk the hands forward, back into your downward facing dog. Inhale forward, rounding through the upper back, hinging at the shoulders, coming into your high plank, deep breath in. Exhale, engage through the glutes, and either from the knees or full plank, lower down to the belly with control. Last little back extension here, but a little bit more passive. Taking the elbows either in front of the shoulders or maybe underneath the shoulders. Lift out of your shoulders, like a turtle poking its head out of the shell. And just bring your elbows as far away from your shoulders, either in front or behind, so that you don't feel pain in the low back. I'm thinking about extending through the entire length of my spine, so pressing my elbows firmly down into the mat, lifting out of the shoulders, and finding a nice long extension from my low back up and out through my neck. Breathing here, finding length at the front body. Good. Gently lower yourself down, and let's roll over onto our back. We've done some spinal rolling, so however you'd like to get there, rolling out to the back. If there's any final releasing movements you'd like to take before releasing into your final resting posture, feel free to do so. We kind of finished on a high note. There wasn't a super extended, it was a long warm-up and the climax of the class was close to the end, so that's okay. Hugging the knees in if you want to take a little spinal twist before you come into your final resting posture, that's good too. You can even do the little swivel or tick-tock of the knees from side to side in the supine position on your back. Nice release through the hips. Breathing. Just noticing sensations in your body, noticing heat that you may have generated. Noticing any thoughts that you're having, whether it's a judgment, positive or negative, of that was awesome, or that was terrible. Chelsea's awesome. Chelsea's weird, or whatever thoughts kind of creep into your head, that thing that you have to do for work, just make it be a practice of like, oh, I'm just noticing. I'm noticing this thought that's floating through my consciousness. So whenever you're ready and whenever you're feeling complete with your movements, making your way into your final resting posture. My favorite these days tends to be Supta Baddha Konasana, or reclined cobblers, or that supine butterfly. It's just a nice hip opener and release for the low back. If you're not a fan of that one, you can certainly place the feet on the floor under the knees or extend the legs if that feels best for you. So just taking the shoulder blades underneath the body, either having the palms face in towards the body or maybe up to encourage that external rotation of the shoulders. Scooching that tailbone towards your heels a touch, just to lengthen through the low back a little bit more. And let's take 3 sigh breaths to close, inhaling through your nose. And let it all go out through your mouth. You can sigh audibly since you're at home, probably inhaling through your nose. Let it all go with a sigh. And again, deep breath in. And let it go. So my friends, it is 12:56, if I'm not mistaken. If you have an extra 4 minutes for yourself to just rest in silence, finding relaxation, undoing muscles, please do so. Spend that time for yourself if you have it. If you know you have a 1 p.m. thing that needs your attention, and gently and slowly transition your way from your practice into the rest of your Wednesday afternoon. I thank you for joining us again. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, I can certainly be contacted by email. You can throw a message into the chat box. Brianna's there, I'm here, I can hang out for a couple minutes if there are any specific questions. So yeah, keep in mind if you have any requests, feedback, whether it's things you like or don't like, things you would like to see for future classes of this one specifically, or future classes in general, different formats, then we are certainly open to your feedback. So thanks again. I will leave you in silence if you are choosing the next few moments to do so. And I'll stick around if you have any questions or things to say.